Hi, everybody, and welcome to episode 276 of Circle Up and Get Real, where by now you know we talk about things that matter with people who matter. And today, the person who matters, and by the way, Liz, you matter all the time to me, is my friend Liz Campbell. And Liz is the experience director. I'm making up this title. I don't know if this is true, but is the
Perfect.
person in charge of the experience that people have at the TEDx event in Fargo. And she does that on behalf of an organization called Emerging Prairie. So, Liz, welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, I
Just
love,
chats with Jody are the best.
well, and it's so fun because you're such a great example of what can happen when two people who are really in the space of great listening, great communication, very creative get together. And you are in my town, so we could meet in person, and we will. We have good conversations at this brewery we both love, Junkyard. So we'll do that in person at some point.
Deal.
But
That's
today
what
I want
you gotta start your junkyard with Jody. Maybe
I
they'll
like it. I do like it.
there can be a little like call out or something. I don't know. I
Yeah.
think it could be
Yeah, so that might be coming, everybody who lives locally. But today I want to talk about Liz. And Liz, I have a little bit of a bio from your Emergent Prairie website, and I just want to remind you that you probably need to update that because you had no kids when that was written.
sure.
And there are two kids now. So Liz Campbell
Checks
is a
out.
connector of people, always wanting to know what makes them tick and how she can help them succeed. So true. Having worked in higher education at both North Dakota State University and Concordia College, after graduating from the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire and Minnesota State University Mankato, Liz thrives, true, on empowering students at the time to discover who they are, what drives them, and bringing that to their everyday lives. So Liz does that now, not for students exclusively, although you are great at having interns and helping those young people get into a really cool, fun, creative place at Emerging Prairie. So, in addition, she's married. Her husband Scott is amazing, and two kids, Sophie and Noah, are amazing. And Toby's still around.
Toby is still around.
Toby the
Mhm.
corgi. So, Liz, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's wild to I wrote that bio 5 years ago.
Yeah,
Um it's wild to look back and be like, all still true. And wow,
right.
okay.
Mhm.
It's fun to see that common thread of kind of where purpose lies and how that
Mhm.
trickles in and
Mm.
where it evolves. So
So that's a really great segue, maybe into this conversation about purpose. How, when you said it like that, are you pretty clear on your purpose?
I think so. I think um the purpose that I see in reflections and all of that and time that we've spent in conversations really just continues to come back to creating a space, whether a physical space
Mhm.
or just a conversation space,
Mhm.
um, for people to be and for belonging and for leaning into just taking away any things that may be I don't know that people don't have to think about and just like creating a space where people get to be and to connect and to feel valued. And whether I did that when I was in higher ed, working with students on as they're transitioning into college, through college, or out of college, to now doing that with our experiences. We call them experiences, not events.
Mhm.
Um, at the core of it, they are an event, right? We bring people together to do something or to talk about something or to whatnot, but it's more what are the things we can think about creating or presenting or giving an experience to our attendees, our speakers, our volunteers, our staff, our whoever, um, to make it something bigger than ourselves. So,
Mhm.
yeah, so it just continues to trickle in there. Our team has gotten really into the book Unreasonable Hospitality. Have you read it?
Yes, I love that book so much.
I yes, it's so great. We were when we were at TEDx, it's like trickled into our volunteers, it's
Mhm.
trickled into everybody. And so just what are those moments that we can take care of folks in ways they don't expect so they can show up as their best selves?
Yeah. Oh, that was profound. Okay, so taking care of the things that people don't have to think about so they can show up as their best selves.
Mhm.
And you do that at TEDx, which is that your biggest event that you sponsor?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Mhm.
We'll talk
Yeah,
about that more specifically in a second. But part of your role there at Emerging Prairie, which we should probably explain a little bit more, like what is Emerging Prairie,
yeah.
is to do that not only for that one event, but you are kind of or experience, sorry, you are an experience organization pretty much, right?
Yeah. Yep. It's yeah, so Emerging Prairie started back in 2012, 2013. Before my time, I wasn't here yet, we but I had just moved to Fargo, so I think that's an interesting tie.
Mm,
Um, I it's an organization that started as entrepreneurial support, right? So how do we give resources or connection or community within entrepreneurs to help them succeed in whatever way that is, because we believe that entrepreneurs do better when they have access to each other. And then how can we tie in the arts? How do we tie in the other business leaders? How do we tie in the general community? Because if you just have a bunch of entrepreneurs running around, I don't know that much is going to get done, right? So you need everybody else to kind of buy into that, and then that's continued to grow and evolve. We just look at what are the gaps that exist, and can we meet that need, or do we know someone in the community who could meet that need, right? So we're not going to come in and try to be the best coffee shop in downtown Fargo.
mhm,
That exists, right? We can fight over which one it is. It's clearly Youngblood, but we can we don't need to be that. We can support that and cheer them on. But where I got into Emerging Prairie was with Emerging Digital Academy. And so we knew that there was a need across the state of North Dakota for software developers. And so in working with CTE and just all of these folks across the state, we were like, okay, well, we need to get people upskilled in software development
mm,
and to do it now. So we created a 20-week software development boot camp. And so that's where I came in, is then I was helping those students to, through, and out of the program. Um, and I loved it. Right. So it was kind of where Emerging Prairie was coming in and filling a gap. And then right around that same time, a little bit before, was when Grand Farm started. So EP just continued to just find these areas, these gaps, and ways that we could, at the core of it, bring people together to solve a problem and innovate. And so Grand Farm was born, which is where agriculture and technology come together. So ag tech. We have a farm out in Castleton, North Dakota, where folks come out and do events, or they visit, or we have startup plots from all over the world having plots
mm,
there to test what does it look like in North Dakota. So we do a couple things.
mhm. Yeah, just a couple. So, in addition then to Grand Farm, because Grand Farm has become really substantial. I noticed as I was looking on Emerging Prairie's website, most of the employees I saw on your team are dedicated to that project. Is that fair to say?
Yep, yeah, that's definitely accurate.
So we can talk more about that, or if you're interested in more information about that, I'll put it in the show notes about Grand Farm because it is very cool. Um, your your role then, we'll talk, TEDx is coming up here in this conversation, but in addition, you do other things, like you do the Wednesday morning now Startup Brew. You want to talk a
Yeah.
little bit about that?
Yeah. So yeah, we do a lot. We do probably 150 events in a year. Um, and 40 of those are Startup Brew. So Startup Brew happens every Wednesday morning. It's modeled after 1 million cups, which we used to do, and then kind of branched out and recreated what that could look like for our community based on needs that our community had, ways that we wanted to kind of switch it up, jazz it up. And so we do that every Wednesday morning in
You want to talk a little bit
downtown.
more about what that is? Like, what is that?
Yes. So Startup Brew, we start at 8 o'clock with coffee, because we believe that every good conversation happens over brews, coffee, tea, beer, whatever. And then we go into our program at 8:30, which is where we bring together 1 to 2 entrepreneurs. So we focus on who is the founder, and give them space to tell their story. So they get to tell their founding story, things that they've learned, successes they've had, and then we open it up for Q&A. And we always start with the question of what is a win you're celebrating, right? Because sometimes we get so in the weeds for what we're doing. How can we come back out and celebrate something? And it's often one of the toughest questions for our founders to answer, but when they do, we just like cheer and it's so much fun. And then we get into the nitty gritty, right? The audience can ask questions, we can ask questions, and then we wrap with asking what is it that the community can do for you. And the results that come from that of afterwards, the speakers are always swarmed with attendees being like, hey, I have this idea or this thing or this or whatever it may be, that then that just fuels so much in the community. So I think it's a super powerful event. Would recommend
Mhm.
folks attend. But
Mhm.
yeah, so that then leads into our other 100 plus events that we do, which are anything from large scale TEDx, to we do an Elevate conference, which is focused on AI and agriculture. We do happy hours, we do little mini summits, we do meetups, we do all those types of things. So, but all of it comes back to bringing people together. We're not the
Yeah.
experts, right? I'm not claiming to be an expert at all in ag tech. However,
Right.
I love to bring people together that know
Mhm.
those things that then can then solve whatever problem growers are having. So,
Yeah. So that comes naturally from you. I know because I looked this up. I guess I've never asked you before, but you were a psychology major.
mhm,
And so psychology and counseling and student personnel, it sounds like was your goal at the beginning when you were in your career path.
mhm.
And was it for those reasons? Bring people together?
I Yes. But it was more that I had incredible mentors when I was going through
Mhm.
college. Um, and I wanted everybody to be able to have that.
Mm.
And so it came from, I think it went back to belonging and sense of purpose of
Mhm.
helping people to discover that. I can still remember the career coach that I had at Eau Claire. Her name was Robin. Shout out to Robin.
Yeah,
Um,
love it.
and I sat down with her and I said, I don't know what I want to do with my life because I was going to be an actuarial science major.
What?
Um,
You?
I know, risk management for insurance
Oh,
companies.
no, no.
Who is she? No, no, very different.
Yeah.
And then calculus two showed up, and I was like, definitely not.
Liz, what?
I know it's weird. I do like
Okay.
math, but not like that.
Okay.
Um, and so I, yeah, met with Robin, and she went through different assessments and things like that with me, and she just kept bringing up like caring for people, showing up for people, something with psychology, with the brain, how it works, understanding how to best support people. And I was like, yeah, all of that makes sense. That's cool. I don't want to be a counselor. I don't want to be a therapist, anything like that. And then I was telling this conversation to my hall director. Um, and shout out to Linda. And she
Robin and Linda, we gotta give
Robin
them.
and Linda, game changers. Um, and she said, well, you know what I do is a job, right? And I was like, it is. Yes.
Mm,
Like you're an adult in a job. And so realizing the impact that she had on me and the students around her and everything like that and the staff that she had, um, and doing that in a way that can be tough, right? I struggled to go to college. Like it was a tough transition for me.
mhm,
My parents got 10 minutes down the road and I started crying, wanting them to
mhm,
come back and get me. So how could I support folks who are going through that? Knowing that only good things can come when you kind of turn inward and figure out what is my purpose and how do I best
mhm, mm.
do that here. So,
And so it was because of Robin's conversation with you, it sounds like, and Linda, where you had an opportunity to start to uncover some of those things for
mhm,
yourself.
yeah, yeah,
And so that's a really good reminder to all of us to be those kinds of mentors for people who
mhm,
you never know where it's going to come back.
right,
I, you know,
right.
so you wanted to do that for students,
Mhm.
and then you went to, did you go right to NDSU from there?
Yeah, so I did Eau Claire and then I went and got my master's at Mankato.
Okay.
um, and had a blast. It was so much fun. I was fully like in it.
Hmm.
I was working in Res Life. I was working in the Career Center. I was working in admissions. I was not sleeping, and it was great. And I loved all of it.
Hmm.
Made some amazing friends and connections and impact. And then yeah, and then I interviewed for a job at NDSU. Um, and the person who interviewed me, it was the most casual interview ever. Like we talked about football and marching band and all the things. And it was kind of like they reached out to me and said, "Would you interview with us?" And I was like, "Yeah, maybe, I suppose." Um, and then I loved it.
Mm,
And then I came to visit campus and I loved it even more. And then I was like, okay, 2 to 3 years. We can do anything 2 to 3 years. Like,
mm.
let's try it. Fargo? Yeah, that sounds fun.
Had you
Um,
had much experience with Fargo before then?
Never.
Never.
Mm-mm. I visited once when I came for my interview and then I
That's
moved here. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And now that person that interviewed me is my son's godfather.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's okay. So I just want to stop right here and acknowledge the power of relationship, the
Mhm.
power of true. And this podcast is about being real.
Yeah.
And you said, I don't. They came to you and said, "Would you interview with us?" You weren't looking. It seems to me that there's a power of energetic connection that
Mhm.
can pull you even when you're not looking.
Yes. Yes. It's You have to show up, right? You have to
Mm,
show up every day. You have to count yourself in. You have to be aware. Um, I think about this a lot with my daughter Sophie, who is like go, go, go all the time. But she's currently learning how to use her scooter. Okay. It's
mhm,
chaos.
mhm.
Her $5 scooter from her garage sale.
Mhm,
And she will do that, and she's just looking down to, like, watch her feet, like, "What am I doing?" And I'm like, "Sophie, look up, see what's going on." And when she does that, she does so much better.
mm,
When she looks up, she can laugh about the dog that's across the street. She can say hi to the people that are going by, right? So it's look up and see what's happening,
mm,
and just be aware of who's around you, and you don't ever know what's going to happen when you say yes. It might be something good, it might be something that you're like, I'm definitely going to pass on that.
mhm,
um but I mean, it goes back to conversations that you and I have had of like awareness. Once you're aware of something, you can't be unaware of it.
mhm,
I
mhm,
think you say it more eloquently than that, but
mm,
it's look up and see who those relationships
mhm,
are, and that's truly what comes back to experiences for me too. Is we don't want people to just come into a room and just sit there and watch something and then leave,
right,
because then that's just for you, it's not
right.
for
Mm,
us.
mhm.
Because again, we do better when we do things together.
Yeah, that's so good.
Yeah.
And there are lots of other events that you've already mentioned. The big ones are Startup Brew and TEDx. So TEDx, can you tell us about the history of TEDx in Fargo and then
Yes.
how we got here? We just completed one not that long ago, this
Yeah, we
summer.
did.
So,
So TEDx events happen all over the world. So there's like 3,000 of them that happen every year. And kind of the where TEDx came to be. So there's in our office we call it Big TED. So like the TED. Um, they This is probably a decade and a half ago, that they said, okay, how do we get more
so
people to
before you go, Big
this?
TED is in California. It's one event, right? It's where it's a big,
Yes,
big, big, big deal.
yes. So and then they have a couple other smaller conferences that they do. They have TED Next, which used to be TED Women, and a couple other ones.
Mhm.
But they were like, I mean, that's maybe 10, 15,000 people total that they can reach each year.
Right.
And so people were wanting to attend and all of that. And so they said, what would it look like if we created licenses for folks to do this in their own communities?
Right.
And so that's where TEDx came in. So anytime you see a TEDx, that means it's
Mhm.
independently organized, all of that. But we're given a set of guidelines and rules and things like that. So it makes sure that it aligns still with the brand of TED and their
Mhm.
kind of their mission and all of that. So we
And
loved it.
TED stands for, can you tell us that?
Technology, entertainment, design.
Yeah,
Yes.
nice. Okay.
Um, which is then all of the talks at a TEDx conference um, are done. They have to be at least less, or they have to be at most 18 minutes. Um, at TEDx Fargo, we say 8 to 10 because we think that that's kind of prime time for folks to be engaged. And if it's a topic you're not super into, like you can still listen for 8 to 10 minutes and then like you don't have to check out for the next 10. So that's kind of Big TEDx. So again, there's 3,000 TEDx events that happen across the country or across the world, excuse me. And TEDx Fargo has been happening since 2012. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
And there were a couple years where we did multiple in a year. That was very early on when we had 100, 150 attendees. But yeah, this year I think was our 15th or 16th TEDx Fargo event. I'm biased in thinking it was our best one yet.
It was so 2 days this year.
I know.
Ah!
I think we're one of, this could be a made up stat, so fact check that one. But like I think it's one of the only ones that does multiple days. So
Yeah.
and it was our first time that we did that, and it worked. Our thesis, our hypothesis was, okay, if we bring people together, how can we continue the conversation and deepen the conversation and those relationships? How can we allow companies too that wanted to bring 50 people, but they're like, we literally can't function without 50 people in the office for a day, but we could send 25 one day, 25 the other day, right? So like there were so many ways that this worked beautifully. So we loved that. And we just got our net promoter score back, which a net promoter score or an NPS goes from negative 100 to 100.
Okay.
And negative 100 is not good. 100 is really good.
Okay.
And most events and things like that are like 40s, 50s. Apple, for example, is like low 60s, I think. Google is right around there too. Once you hit 70, you're considered world class.
Okay.
So I'm gonna brag a little bit.
Go.
Because we got a score of 77.
Oh my gosh. Of course you did. I'm so proud of you, Liz. Because, okay, everybody who's listening to this, Liz was the hub around which everything operated. And I know that because I know Liz, but I also was there on the Tuesday before. I helped do a little bit of volunteer things. I talked to people because that's what I do. And I talked to people around, and Liz, your name came up so many times. I just happened to run into speakers. I happened to run into people, and everybody was saying, "Where's Liz? I got to meet Liz," because you hadn't met them in person yet necessarily, some of them. And so you need to brag on that till next year when it's 80.
Right. Right.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It was so fun. And it's something that, so yes, I do a lot of the overseeing our team that makes it happen. Greg on our team, he's the CEO, founder of Emerging Prairie, co-founder of Grand Farm, all of that. He does the curation of speakers. So he figures out who should be on the stage, who needs to be on the stage, how do we get them, how do we, all of that. And he also is kind of the host, the MC of the days, I guess. And so he does a phenomenal job with that. He's a big, has an incredible ability to like rally the masses and like bring people together, make the connections, tie the thread together, which was our theme. So he does that side. And then really once he gets a speaker, that shifts over to myself and then a couple of my other team members to coach the speakers and kind of help them fine tune what their talk looks like. And then we have the folks working on the experience of what does it look like when you walk in? Like literally, how do we make the theme come to life? How do we have activities? How do we have meetups? How do we have a yoga session in the morning? What does lunch look like? But then it's also our marketing team who we are a firm believer that the moment you first hear about an event, that's when the net promoter score starts, right? Of like when you hear about an event is coming up, that's where people start to make decisions on are they going to attend or not? Is it soaking into their brain or is it just kind of a no, next, that's fine. And so how do we have it from the moment you hear about it all the way through the last survey that you get from us? How do we continue to engage and have that consistency and all of that? So I think all of that goes into that Net Promoter
So it
Score.
was so good. You changed locations this year for the first time. And I've been involved in since the very first one. You weren't there, but the first one was
Mhm.
only 100 people and it was 4 speakers and it was in a downtown yoga studio. And in there
Yeah.
we were moving chairs and I mean it was small but cool because it was the
Yeah.
first one and it's fun to be part of that. And then you moved from there, I can't remember the order, but to a theater, to a local theater downtown, and that was really cool too. Then you moved to the Civic Center. Am I
Mhm.
forgetting any locations here in the process that you
I don't
remember?
think so. I
Okay.
think that's it. Yeah.
And then the Civic Center was big. I mean, there was a lot of room in
Huge.
this downtown Civic Center. And if you were an attendee of a Civic Center TEDx in Fargo,
Mhm.
you probably took for granted how much work it took to make the lighting and the staging and all of those experiential things that you just walk into and feel. So
Mhm.
there's a lot that goes on that the attendees, have no idea about. And
Yeah.
talk about that, the Civic versus where we were this year and why that
Yeah.
change was made.
So the Civic, yes, is a big building that has incredible bones to it.
Mhm.
And it is very like industrial. It's a lot of cement. But the chairs are red, which ties perfectly into TEDx.
Right.
So we love that.
Yeah.
And but going in, we want to when people come into an experience, to an event, into the Civic Center for TEDx, we want to transport them, right? We want them to walk in and be like, "Oh, this is this theme. This is this something," or um yeah, to just like take them to a different space so that they can be present and right and buy in, count themselves into what we're doing. But yes, I mean, we have incredible teams that we work with, our vendors we work with, to make the lights happen, to make the production happen, right? Livewire comes in and we say, hey, here's our dream. And I don't know how your lighting works, but you do. You're the experts in that. Can you help
Right.
us with that? Right? It's a different way of looking at how the community comes together to make something happen.
Right.
So we work with Livewire, we work with food vendors. We last year had, I don't know, like 10 food trucks come for lunch.
Mhm.
And we're like, hey, you get X number of dollars per meal, tally it up and we'll figure it out. And they're like, oh, okay. That sounds a
Mhm.
little chaotic. And we're like, yeah, but we'll figure it out. And
Yeah.
then we do, and it worked great.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so yeah, it's fully transforming this space to give the illusion that you're somewhere different,
Mhm.
but you're there together as community.
Right.
Yeah.
And I remember Civic is big, so you have a lot of outdoor space. You have a lot of we use streets to
Yes.
put tables and vendors, and I mean it was like the community center, but outside there were jugglers and music and all those kinds of things. So
Mhm.
that was cool. And this year
Mhm.
I was a little like, it's not going to be the same because it's at a new
Mhm.
location and you kind of get used to having it a certain way. And as an attendee, I was like, okay, let's see how they do this. So
Mhm.
talk about how it shifted to a new location and how
Yeah.
cool it was.
So yeah, so last year we were at the Civic Center and we had I think 1,200 attendees or something like that,
Mhm.
1,300 somewhere around there.
One
Pre-COVID,
day,
our biggest year, yes,
one
one day.
day. Mhm.
Pre-COVID, because that's a marker in our lives now. Pre-COVID, I think our highest attendance was about 3,000, and that was in 2019.
Okay.
And so then after COVID, right, there were restrictions and all of that. And so
Mhm.
then we were slowly building back up. We had a newer team in on the TEDx world. And so going right to a 3,000 person event probably would not have gone as well because we were all
Right,
still like, what does this mean?
right.
How do we all of that?
Yeah.
And so we were at, yeah, 1,300 and we were like, okay, this is a good number.
Mhm.
Um, and then community wanted more. People wanted more time to connect. We also felt like, what would it look like if we did a 500 person TEDx? Right? What if we brought the number down? What different experiences could we do? What different impact could we have? And then we are like, okay, but then that's only like 500 of our friends. Like that's only 500 community members. What do we do? And then we're like, but I mean, we could do it 2 days. It's already set up. Like, what's the worst that could happen? And so, community wanted more. We wanted
Mm,
more intentional focus on the community, and so we sold 1,300 tickets.
yeah.
Um,
And how many spots per day did you have room for?
500.
500. You sold 1,300 tickets. You had room for 500. Interesting. Okay, how'd that work?
1,300 over the 2 days. So,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah. Some
yes,
people
because
came
we
back,
were
some people didn't, right?
yes, and some of those right, some of those were our speakers who were in and out of the room,
Mhm,
and it worked, right? There were folks that chose to stand because we kinda had some high tops and whatnot for folks
mhm,
to stand back there, but, um, when we decided we were gonna do that, I was like, I don't think the Civic Center is it because it's so big. We're like, okay, we could bring the ceiling down. There's organizations in town that do that really, really well, like Folkways. They do an event at the Civic Center where they kind of lower the ceiling with
mhm.
drapery and all of that. I was like, okay, I mean, we could do that, but it's not right. Like this is kind of a new era for TEDx. And so what can we do with that? And so we started exploring venues. We were like looking at an abandoned warehouse down the way. We were looking at
Wow.
like a ton of different venues and we're like, none of these feel quite right. And then we were at Bruhala and we're like, okay, well, what about Bruhala? We love being there. The community is always electric there. They had a space that fits 500 people. Um, and we're like, what if? What if? What would this look like? Um,
So Brewhalla, for those of you who are listening, is like an indoor market and
yeah.
4 stories, 4 floors. I mean, hotel on the top. Mar how would you describe it? Like little shops and
Yes.
eatery
Yep. Like,
indoor market, basically,
mhm,
right?
yeah. Like it's basically like a downtown into a smaller space. But yeah, it is a market, right? There's Unglued, which is like local makers in a physical location. There's, I don't know, 4 or 5 different restaurants in there and all different ones. There's a pizza
Mhm,
place,
mhm,
there's a burger place, there's um oysters.
mhm.
Then there's ice cream shops. Then
Gelato,
there's
yeah.
gelato, yes. Oh, we love them. And there's the brewery, right? So there's that tie-in, and then, other different shops that are there. There's, like, a dog place, and I think
Yeah.
Brouhaha is one of the greatest things that has happened to kind of the
Mhm,
downtown Fargo area to just bring people
mhm,
together differently, and they have event space, and they have a hotel, and a really
mhm.
big parking lot, which for
Yes,
us as
true, good point.
logistics folks, right? Like, okay, if we're gonna bring 500
Mhm,
people, we
mm,
need spots.
right.
Um, and it worked. We had and I think part of the reason that it worked, and shout out to the Brewhala team of we went to them and we said, "Hey, we have this crazy idea. Can we and will you join us?"
Yeah.
And then nearly every meeting or every phone call or email we had with them were like, "So can we take yarn and make a giant X out of yarn in your 3-story open air area?" And they
Right.
were without hesitation, they were like, "Absolutely. Here's the technique we would use." And we're like, "Sweet."
Wow.
And you're like, "What would happen if we did it in, like, early July, so it's up all month?" And they were like, "Oh, yeah, that sounds great." And so it was the buy-in of, again, the community coming together.
Mhm,
The
mhm,
food vendors that were there were our lunch vendors. We got a couple extra food trucks because we knew, like, let's just keep the lines moving, and they were all on
mhm,
board.
mhm.
And the Unglued team, their founder had been on the TEDx stage in the past, right? So it was just like all of these really cool tie-ins of how people believe in us. The Unglued team, they did a craft for us in the morning where folks could go and do some different things with yarn, which tied into the thread theme, right? So it's when they were able and willing to dream with us, it just makes it go that much better, right? Because everybody's believing in what you're doing. So we loved it. Um, and we'll be back there next year.
So when you look back, and I know it's not been that long, it's not even a month ago that this happened. And you think about how you envisioned it and how when you decided it was going to be Brouhaha and the theme was thread and seeing the big X out of yarn, because that's what it was. I weaved some X's into the
You did?
band railings and um when you envisioned it before you saw it in real life and it was in your mind, did it exceed your expectations? Did it meet your expectations? Did it come short of what you envisioned? What do you think?
I talk about this with my team a lot. There's always a point about 2.5, 3 weeks before the event happens where I go, "What have we done? This is terrible. What are we doing? No, this isn't good. That's not this, nope, 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 all the things." It's got to be like stages of grief, but for event planners. Like, I don't know what that is. Maybe that's my claim to fame book. I don't know what, but the
Coming
stages
soon,
of
everyone. Coming soon.
coming soon. Um, and but it's at that point I was like, this is a new space. How's it going to work? How's tickets? Are people going to show up? That's always a question.
Mm,
Are people going to show up? We believe that our community will show up for us because we show up for the community and we bring people in, right? Like, people were going to show up. So unnecessary thoughts. But our team, if I look back on the vision board that we did, the mood board that we did, to just pull in how the theme is represented, how the community is represented, and how we can utilize unreasonable hospitality to make it the best day possible for our attendees, and not even the best day, like making it an intentional, impactful day for people to
mhm.
show up as their best selves, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I it exceeded the expectations. It really did. Like, when we decided Brouhaha, again, going back to, like, they bought into what we were doing. We're like, "I hope they're on board with being a little weird with us." And in one of the meetings, they literally said, "We love to be weird." And we
Uh-huh.
said, "We're in." Like,
Yeah.
"Yes, let's
Yeah,
go."
if you live in Fargo, or even if you wanna travel to Fargo, that's put it on your list. That's a place you
Yes.
need to see because you like you said, you need to experience that place, because if what you just said about they like to be weird, well,
Mhm.
I guess, to me, weird is great. Weird is amazing,
Yes.
and that's how you feel there. That's why
Mhm.
people go there. So
Yeah.
it seems now, after having seen it and caught the vision of it, it was a perfect location. Everything
Mm.
about it was the right choice,
Yeah, it
having been.
absolutely was. Because it also, our theme being thread, it was every thread tells a story, right? So every ability for our team to show up there, for their team to show up with us, just showed that thread of community, right? For us to bring people together, the conversations that happen there. I have a very unique perspective for what my role is on the days of TEDx. Is that I am the last person that speakers see when they go from, like, backstage to then getting mic'd up. So I'm that
Mhm.
kind of transition person to, like, "Okay, come
Yeah.
back. We're
Mhm.
going on stage."
Mhm.
And then my team member Sydney was backstage to, like, help get them mic'd up and answer any last questions, and she did phenomenal at that, um, as kind of that stage manager. And but that is a very unique perspective and moment, that being able to connect and to see the speakers have the realization of, like, this is this is a marker for me, right? I joked how
Right.
COVID was like a marker in time for
Right.
us.
Yeah.
For most of our speakers, the minute they go on stage and come off, there's a change. There is
Yeah.
something different. And so it's a deep, deep honor to be in
Mhm.
that role, to physically have that. Because one of the unique things that we do at TEDx Fargo is we have past speakers introduce current speakers.
Yeah.
Um, it's not something any other or many other TEDx events do across the world. Um, but for us, it's creating a different thread. It's
Mhm.
creating a different connection, and usually there's some reason that that is the person that's their intro speaker,
Yeah.
whether we know the reason or the reason's gonna happen afterwards, right? And so they're always one of the biggest supporters. They're always cheering them on, even if they just met the day before.
Yeah.
Um, and so again, it's just the community, it's the different ties, it's the different moments, it's, I don't know, it's just very powerful that it can all come together in those ways, and the conversations that'll continue to happen. So,
Well, it feels like an alumni network at some,
yeah.
so you going back to your work at colleges and universities,
Mhm.
there's this Because they are, you're right. And by the way, everybody, these are not just local people. These are not just
Yeah.
speakers from Fargo. These are not just speakers from around the Midwest. They're
Mhm.
speakers from all over. Can I say international? We have
Yeah.
international people, don't we?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is a big
We
deal.
yeah, we this year, and I would have to look back at stats from previous years,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
to me, my gut, it feels like this is a consistent ratio is about 75% of our speakers are not local,
Right.
um, which is very, very cool because
Yeah.
we have our local speakers and they are so incredible because we can then do different events with them leading up, like Missy
Hmm.
Heilman with Bio
Hmm.
Girls.
Hmm.
We took over a coffee shop and they literally had us be baristas for a day.
Oh,
Did you know
wow.
this? Yes.
No.
The TEDx team and Missy, we went over to Bully Brew. Shout out to Bully Brew.
Wow.
And they let us be baristas for a day.
Oh, wow.
It was chaos. I don't think we messed up anybody's orders. Sorry if we did, if you're listening. But like being able to have local speakers who then can tie back into the
Hmm.
community, it just
Hmm.
brings a different hype. And then
Yeah.
yeah, our non-local speakers, it's yeah, probably 75% of them because how can we get those speakers, those perspectives, those viewpoints, those
Hmm.
ideas
Hmm. Hmm.
in? And then honestly, one of my favorite things that we do is auxiliary events. So these are like our bonus content. And that's where we tie when we tell when I have conversations with our out of town guests speakers, I say, hey, so what else do you love to do other than whatever your talk is, right? Because that's 8 to 10 minutes.
Sure.
And sometimes they'll be like, I love bird watching, or I really love cats, or I don't know why I'm going just animals, right? So they have these other interest areas.
Uh-huh.
And I say, sweet, well, we have this here.
Mm,
Do you want to engage with them? Like, let's pull
mm.
you in. And most speakers will be like, yeah, put me to work. I'm there Monday to Thursday. Like, do the
Wow.
things I want to connect in. And oh my gosh, it's my favorite because then
Yeah.
these little moments happen. Some of the auxiliary events or bonus ones that we do are open for the community, right?
Yeah.
Um, but then there's some where it's just, I would love to meet with this person or this type of person. And we set up just this small little coffee meeting that then 6 months later, or honestly, like 2 days later, we're like, that was a transformational moment for the community.
Mm, mm.
Um, or we had, and sometimes we pull them together in like days. So on Tuesday of TEDx Fargo week, we took two speakers and then a local past speaker over to Touchmark.
Mm.
And uh,
Touchmark is a retirement
yes,
community.
yes. And they did like a little mini TEDx there.
Oh,
And we planned that on the Thursday before. Yeah.
wow.
I was like, "Hey, Anne Marie, who's the executive director, who also went to college with my husband. Hey,
Yes.
you wanna do this?" And she's like, yeah, absolutely." And I was like, "Great. I'll bring the people, the things, whatever. You do what you need to do on your end." And so it was so impactful for the speakers that were there.
Yeah.
For the residents who were there, they had like family members who attended and all. So
Sure.
it just was so cool to be able to tie into the community
Yeah.
in different ways. We
One
broke a
thing that
world record. Did you go to that?
what? No,
We
yeah,
broke
I was there. I was there, but I had to leave before I could get to be part of the record. But I was there. The marshmallow. You got to talk about the s'mores.
Yes, we broke a world record. I don't know if it's like confirmed by Guinness yet, but our numbers say it is.
Yes.
We broke a world record for the most number of people eating s'mores at the same time.
Yeah.
So we worked with Folkways, and then Wonder Maid,
So
who
one,
they're
can I just jump in? Wonder Maid was a
yeah,
former TEDx speaker, and they
yep,
make marshmallows,
yes, because
different
marshmallows make
flavors.
people happy.
Right. So they were, where are they from? Where are they out of?
They're down in Orlando or
In
Florida. I
Orlando,
think in
Florida. Okay,
Orlando.
so
Yeah.
and they've become friends of TEDx Fargo because of these relationships you're talking about, and they long-lasting
Yep.
relationships, right?
Yep.
And this is how this is building a community outside of the Fargo community, but tied to the Fargo community, which
Hmm.
I love the
Yeah.
threads of that, right?
Right. That's why it was
And
the
it,
theme.
Yes. And another really cool thing about that, I don't want to discount the significance of breaking a world record for eating s'mores because it was amazing. The photos are great. Everything about
Yeah.
that is so cool. But one thing about at least this year that I noticed that was different from being in the Civic, which felt
Mhm.
almost corporate,
Yeah.
being in the civic center, it's a civic center, it's a, this did not
Mhm.
feel corporate to me at all. I sat by Chloe Baldery one session.
Yeah.
So this, she's one of the speakers and she's become kind of a friend of mine. She was on this podcast, and that feeling of they're not better than us, the speakers are
Mhm.
not better than us. I ran into the president of the University of North Dakota on that Tuesday
Mhm.
while he was there, and I said, I didn't even know who he was. I hate to admit this, but I saw this guy sitting at Bruhala, and I said, "Has anybody ever told you you look like Stephen Colbert?" And he's like, well, yes, they have. Who are you? And I went, well, sorry. But he was so friendly and funny and amazing. And he did a presentation with the president of North Dakota State, and they talked about how their rivalry, and they were so good. Cook was the straight man, and Andy was the funny guy. You guys did such a great job curating those presentations, and um, it was just, Liz, it was so good. It was just so fun to be part of.
Thank
And
you.
we
Yeah,
can, you and I could talk forever, Liz, about
I
this.
know. I
Mm.
never I never made the connection that that's who he looks like, and now I
Do you think
can't
he does?
unsee it.
I know, right?
Yeah,
Don't you think he does?
absolutely.
He goes,
Oh,
I'll
that's
probably
so
be out of
funny.
work next year. And I'm like, no, 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 you'll be fine. Because Colbert's out of work next year. Ha, funny.
Yes,
And Andy's like, yeah, I might not have a job. I'm like, yeah, I think you'll be okay. It was so
I think
funny.
you'll be fine. Mm.
So,
Yeah, I am grateful for people like you who continue to show up, right? It has changed and evolved, and our team has changed and evolved. The structure of it has changed and evolved. Um, but people keep showing up. And I think that's, I don't know, you're counting yourself in. You're like, I don't know what's going to happen here. I
hmm
don't know what I'm going to walk into.
hmm
Um, but you keep showing up. So I appreciate
Well,
that.
and that's a tribute to the brand of TEDx. Let's just say it from the
Yeah.
beginning. I mean, they did a super great job of putting the X after TED. And you said earlier about having some standards and making sure that the experience, at least, worldwide, is going to feel somewhat similar. You stand on a red circle and it's
Mhm.
all recorded. So there are videos that you can see all the time, which will be
Yeah.
coming in the next couple of months, I'm guessing, as they
Yes.
get edited. So you can watch these. By the way, everybody who's listening, make sure you watch for this because there were some amazing presentations, including Deborah. I need to say before we go on, I thought her content was brilliant. She's
Yeah.
Deloitte, is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
So
She's the
she's a
chief
big
innovation officer
deal.
at Deloitte.
I mean, big whoop deal. This is a big
Mhm.
deal. $4 billion contract or something she runs. And from her presentation, I recognized that she said, I do not memorize things. I am not good at this. Speaking as someone who failed a TEDx talk in my life in April of 2016, and it was very monumental for me, I forgot my talk on a stage, which I've never watched again, by the way. And I completely related to her. And I took notes
Mhm.
because she talked so fast. Because, can you give the secret away
You did give it
about
away.
her? She wore glasses. She had sunglasses
Mhm.
on. And it became clear to me, evidently to me, that she was reading her talk from her glasses. So this is what? This is an amazing technology that's out there. I just wish they wouldn't have been dark glasses. I wish I could have seen her eyes. But anyway, her talk was brilliant and amazing. The content was great, and it was so weird because I couldn't see her. She was delivering
Mhm.
a message using technology, doing all these things, and but she took them off at the end. I'm glad Greg had her take her glasses off at the end so we could actually see her. But that was the first time I've ever been compelled by something in such a different way. And
Mhm.
she talked fast. I could not take enough notes, but I did my
Yes.
best. So I'm looking
Um,
forward to her recording.
and fun fact, did you know that there was someone else that had glasses on that was
I
reading a
did
script?
not.
Mhm. It was
Really?
one of our intro speakers,
Okay.
Dr. Rupak Gandhi. He
Really?
walked up and I was like, "You don't
He
do you
did
know
have glasses
I have
on. Now that I think
glasses?"
about
And I was like, "Maybe, I don't know, because I was backstage chatting with him, and he
it.
was
Yeah.
like, "Yeah," and he was telling me all about them, and I'm not gonna try to tell the technology because I
Yeah.
don't remember and I'm not good at that. He was like, "Yep, it's right up here. Feel
Oh,
confident,
get
feel
out of
ready."
here.
Yeah. So
Oh my
whatever it
gosh.
was that he was saying and all of that, yeah.
Yeah. He did a
But
great
that's
job. I was really impressed. I'm like, boy, the facts. He's got a great prompter or something because he did a super great job.
yeah. Yeah, because it's I
Wow.
mean, it's all about, like, how do you make folks comfortable again, right?
Right.
How do you
Right.
give them the tools, the atmosphere, the space to I'm, like, having this epiphany right now.
Yeah.
Having the space to show up as their best selves, right?
Right.
Like,
Right.
Deb and I had
Well,
so
it's
many
something.
conversations about her talk, right? We had
Yes.
probably 4 or 5 different phone calls where she's like, "Okay, I'm
Mhm.
not quite there on my talk yet. I'm this and that," and we would talk
Mhm.
through different things and
Mm.
logistics, and because when she came here, she was here for the full week, and she was up in Grand Forks for a little bit. She was out at the farm doing
Wow.
another keynote for a conference we had the day before. She was doing just all of these things, and, um, she was like, "Okay, I'm gonna show up as my best self," and I was like, "Great, that" like, at the end of the day, that's all we want is
Mhm.
show up as your
Mhm.
best self,
Mhm.
give the talk that the world needs to hear.
Yeah.
Um yeah, so it just it's yeah, it's powerful, and so my epiphany is, how can we use that to help people show up as their best selves, right? It's
Yeah.
just another way to do
She
that.
she was probably why did I remember her name right away? Because her talk was so compelling to me. Her talk. So the whole premise of TED is ideas worth spreading, right? Ideas worth sharing. So if somebody has an idea worth sharing and they're not comfortable memorizing or whatever it might be for
Mhm,
that, make it yes, what you just said, make
yeah,
it easy for them to share that message that's inside of them. One time I heard somebody say who was a writer and she spoke at an event and she said, God called me to write and he's pushing me to speak.
mm,
And I love that.
interesting.
She said, this is not my first love speaking to you right now and telling you
Mhm,
this. I write. And I've thought about that over and over and over. And when I failed my TED, when I say failed, I just completely didn't have a prompt. And
yeah,
I was like Cindy Light going podcast, but I'm looking into the camera with. That's what happened to me. I forgot. And to me, that was a really compelling and get back on the horse moment for me
mhm,
in my speaking. I've become a speaker now. I mean, it's what I do for a living.
mhm,
And I might have frozen on there because my internet connection just said it was unstable. But so for me, memorizing is not my thing. Neither was it for Deborah. It's not a
yeah,
thing. It's connecting. And however you do that, I love what you said, Liz, about making people the most comfortable to deliver the message that they're here to
mhm,
deliver.
yep,
Mm.
yep, and how do you get it so that you can share it out, right?
Right.
Um, because we often focus on at TEDx Fargo, we focus on who's in the room, like,
Mm,
what's that local impact that we can have, and, um we this year, we were like, "Okay, we're really good at that. Let's
mhm,
keep doing that, and how do
mhm,
we push the message out to the world,
mhm,
and be able to build on that muscle of"
yeah,
I mean, all of the talks get posted out to the TEDx YouTube, not
mhm,
just TEDx Fargo YouTube, but the TEDx YouTube, which has
yep,
43 million subscribers or something like that.
mhm, mhm,
How do we make that the best experience for folks
mhm,
to hear those ideas because they matter, and these speakers we have some speakers right now lined up for next year,
yeah,
who are already working on their talk. That's a year
wow,
away. That's more than I prepare for most things in my life,
yeah,
and, like, they get
wow,
8 to 10 minutes. They're
yeah,
preparing an entire year for 8 to 10 minutes, so how do we amplify that out to the world, right? How do
yeah.
we do those things and continue sharing?
So I just want everybody to recognize how much goes on behind the scenes in so many things you take for granted. We all do that. I do that. We all take things for granted. But there's
Mhm,
something, Liz, in what you've shared with us today that I think if we start noticing the beauty, and I love your story about Sophie, to put your head up,
mhm,
see things, notice things, you probably will start to see that that coffee shop you go to has done a lot to get you to feel a different way. Or,
yeah,
your organization that you work for maybe does or doesn't take this
mhm,
much attention to detail. And you'll
yeah,
probably be able to start noticing that. So
yeah,
maybe share some thanks to the people around you who are causing
mhm,
you to feel like you can bring your best self. And you do that so well,
yeah,
Liz.
thank you, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's the experience, it's we often in work talk about here at EP, we talk about, well, an experience is an event. Yes, but an experience is also what happens when you walk in the door. An experience is
Mhm,
what happens when you sit down for a meeting.
mhm.
It's the experience of both the physical world, but then also the experience of how people are showing up.
Yeah,
Um, and that's what my team focuses on, right? We're doing the
mhm.
experience of just the experience, right? The
Yeah,
experience
yeah,
of
yeah.
how can you show up in community? How do we best
Mm,
create the spaces for that? Um, and a lot of what we get to do is through events, and that is so fun
yeah.
every day.
So if people want to get a hold of you, Liz, what's the easiest way for them to do that?
Yes. Best way would be um you can email me if you want. I don't know.
Okay.
People don't know. Yeah, I don't know. LinkedIn.
I just think
LinkedIn's a fun one.
so find Liz on LinkedIn. We'll put this in the show notes and I'll give you her email address because a conversation with Liz on a Zoom or a cup of coffee, I mean, can actually put you in that space and remind you of some of the things you might have forgotten about.
Mhm.
And Liz, that's
Yeah.
probably not Emerging Prairie's, sole focus is to have people reach out to you. However, I think it would be kind of cool if you've heard anything you like today that you'd like
Mhm.
to learn more about. I'm
Yes.
kind of going, I didn't ask for that permission, Liz, but
No, I love it. I think it's
okay.
great. Yes, I'm totally on board. I was like, I was gonna like put my cell phone number out there. Y'all don't need that.
Don't do
Um,
that. No, just email and LinkedIn and we'll
yes.
connect you. But be respectful of Liz's time and attention. And if you, just want a little more information about how maybe
Yes.
you could make your events more like experiences, I think you're the perfect person for that, Liz.
No, I appreciate that. Can we wrap in gratitude?
Yes, we can.
Yes. We do that at Emerging Prairie. We wrap all of
Yes.
our meetings in gratitude. I don't consider this a meeting, but it's a
Hmm.
gathering, right?
Hmm.
Um, so wanted to bring that here. I am I'm grateful for oh, Jody, I don't remember how long ago it was. 3 years ago? 2 years, 2.5 years ago when I was in your class. And um then you had also been a speaker in my 35 under 35 class. When you were in my class, I was not in the time or headspace to hear. I was aware, but I wasn't hearing it. And then I volunteered the next year and heard you loud and clear. And so I'm grateful for you continuing to show up and for continuing to believe in those around you and knowing that sometimes your message is heard and then sometimes the message isn't heard until a little bit later.
Hmm.
And so I'm grateful that you continue to show up and for the impact that you've had on me.
Oh, I appreciate that, Liz. And I just want to give it back to you. There are not a ton of people, not as many as I wish there were in the world, who would either hear the message or um, even not hear the message, but take the invitation.
Mhm.
And you've taken every invitation I've ever given, whether it's to you personally or whether it's a blanket invitation for something. There's something in you that connects with the deep part of me. And I think those things make each of us better because in listening spaces that are provided, our speaking becomes better. And you do that for me, but you do that for all of those TEDx speakers. And I witnessed it this year, especially because you didn't really have a backstage. I was creeping on you. I don't know if you know that. Yeah, you probably do because you saw me. But there was just a little like a curtain, and I'm like looking literally behind the curtain. And I saw you with the people, and I saw people. I saw Kevin Wallivan before he introduced the neck, and I noticed stuff, Liz, and I want you to know that I saw you, and I love who you are being in the world.
I appreciate that. Thanks,
So
Jody.
yeah, so everybody look for those ways. Look for those ways. And don't
Mhm.
just, if you see it, say it. Don't
Yep.
just think it to yourself. If you see it, say it. And if you can find a way this week to get real, radical, energized, authentic, and learning focused, take it. That's how I close all of these podcasts. So Liz, thank you so much for being with me. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.